My name is Gary Butterfield.
My name is Cole Ross.
And you are listening to a very special network-wide Duckfeed announcement.
Yes, have we got some news for you?
You've got this on all your feeds.
Yep, it's really
2019,
annoying.
prepare to delete.
listen once, delete thrice.
Yeah, that's our motto.
Yeah,
Benjamin
2019.
Franklin said that.
Open one up. There.
Yeah, poor Richard's Almanac. If one listens once and deletes thrice, the next morning shall be nice.
Yeah, if I listened once and deleted thrice, I might actually get through all the podcasts that are in my.
Yeah, I'm in negative numbers now.
I got to make podcasts full of
a man's hot Estonia. Yeah, so we got an announcement here about Duckfeed in 2019, and we're going to talk about it.
Yeah,
we've been hinting. And now the time for hints is over.
The time for hints has come. It is the first of the year. We have been looking at our Patreon and looking at things that we want to do and what we want our goals to be. And we figured it was about time for a shakeup. Yep.
It is time for a lemon lime shakeup, makeup. Because we wanted to.
Yeah.
So first we're going to talk about why we're doing this.
Yes.
So the goal is like we would like to grow.
Yes.
As a network. Like we're real proud of the shows. We're really proud of what we do. We want to reach more people. And kind of along with that, we also want more patrons. We have had some rising costs on our end.
Yes.
With things.
Yeah. So we want to grow, and grow can entail many things. And in a lot of places, that's not just, growing more listeners, but, even growing what we give you in return. Right. And
we want to be able to do more as well with things. And there's something about this whole thing where like when we do these Patreon restructures, there's not really a business model for Patreon. Like if we just copy Giant Bomb, like we're not those guys.
Yeah,
it doesn't work out the same way.
Right. But we do our own thing, and we have our own we have our own kind of strengths. And part of this process, because there is no book, we have to do it iteratively. And sometimes giving more means giving smarter. Doing more means doing smarter. Right. So We're trying to look at the offering, and what you will notice is the Patreon's going to get a lot simpler than it was.
Yeah. So let's talk about, and part of this too, like some of these things, I want everyone to understand kind of the impetus behind this too, where it's like so we're covering more new games, which gets expensive, like that eats into, things every month. Also just, we're both doing this full time now.
Yeah.
So we're paying rent or mortgage. We are paying insurance, which is expensive.
Yeah,
because of Nightmare.zone. Because Sonic has entered Nightmare Zone.
Yep.
And that is American healthcare.
Yeah.
All those things. Like we just we want to be able to do more stuff. We want to be able to do those things, but we also want to bring in some more people. So we're making some changes, and we're going to go through them right here. We want people who do support us to feel really valuable. We really do appreciate that, and we want to do cool stuff.
Yeah. Just make sure that we trim our sails in the right direction. Yeah.
Yes.
So
sales like SAILS.
Yes.
But that would have been a fucking dynamite pun.
Oh,
at like a 70s meeting, like if you were at like a sales department.
Yeah.
Be like, let's trim our sales.
Yeah. That sounds like a cocaine thought.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly.
Yeah. So speaking of sales meetings, I want to make sure that we highlight this a couple of times. 3 goals. 1, grow the network. 2, give patrons more. And 3, cover these rising costs. Those are kind of the 3 things that we had in mind as the brand pillars for this new direction.
Yes. So first thing, big thing, Bonfire Side Chat's coming back.
Yep.
We said we wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
We're doing it.
We're doing it. Yeah.
And that is not a cynical thing. So we talk about that. There's an episode 0 that is should be on your feeds, that's dropping right away. That is if you're a patron, and that explains kind of the new approach and the logic behind it. And I just want to caution anyone against thinking this is like cynical, because a lot of things changed between when we mothballed the show and now.
Yeah. So we've already recorded that episode 0 at the risk of covering things again. Part of the problem we ran into was Dark Souls 1 was a game that was so good we had to make a show about it. It suggested pretty much the entire structure full cloth because of what that was and how special it was. We ran into a problem when we started trying to cover Dark Mouse like it was Dark Souls. Dark Mouse, fine game. There's plenty to recommend it, I think, but not the thing. You know, the format didn't necessarily fit.
And we ran out of mainline Souls games.
Yep.
And we still might be out. Like, a lot of people have asked about Sekiro. From keep saying this is not a Soulsborne, and no one believes it because gamers. So we still might have that. Like for the Dark Souls or for the Bonfire Side Chat classic structure to work. There's area by area with a guest that requires a couple things. That requires each area is interesting enough to talk about on its own. That there is enough like kind of identity to it. There's enough fluff in there, so there's enough like cumulative world building details presented in every level.
Yeah.
And it requires that the game is popular enough and has a wide enough base to entice somebody to come on for every area, and they have something interesting to say about it. Like, it's not all going to be Austin Walker talking about Farron Keep.
Right.
You know, like, that's, you really love that level, had interesting things to say about it. We don't know that's going to be true about Sekiro, and it's definitely not true about Dark Mouse or even Neo, even like the good Souls likes. You know, there's just not that much to say about it. Even Hollow Knight. Like, if we did try to do area by area through that, like, I love that game.
It's
so
an amazing
much,
game.
But, yeah. What there's not a whole lot to say about the Deep Nest in terms of like, you know, having a personal connection to that area. It is more of a holistic thing. So rather than trying to fit kind of square pegs and round holes, we're changing the format of the show a little bit when we bring it back. And again, we talk about this more in detail in that episode 0. But basically, you know, multiple episodes for games, but kind of more we get in what we get in for it rather than trying to break it down area by area. And we're going to have guests, but we're going to do a guest per game. So at the end of the season, these little mini seasons, we cover a game. We'll do one kind of roundup episode where we talk about kind of our final summations, what worked, what didn't, and we'll have somebody on who is a big fan or at least has really interesting things to say about that game. And have them kind of talk about it to get another perspective in there.
So, for example, our first season is going to be about a Souls-like shooter called Immortal Unchained. Jeremy Greer was actually, you know, somebody who I think demanded that from the Patreon, and he's going to be our guest on that final episode for that game because he has stuff to say about it.
Yeah, and he really likes it, and it is interesting. Like, the other thing that changed is a lot of Souls-likes came out. That support the kind of the structure.
So in early 2017, we would have been on a drip feed with no potential Souls like, you know, like regular Soulsborne in sight. We have accumulated this backlog of cool stuff to cover. So that's another big thing. That's another big thing that's changed as well. Yeah,
because a bunch of that stuff has come out. You know, your Death's Gambit and such have come out. Its here is going to come out, you know, 2019. We got stuff on the horizon, and like Sekiro will go here. We don't know exactly what and like none of us knows what that is. Like, if that does support the classic Bonfire Side Chat treatment, we'll do that. And if it doesn't, we won't. And we're just gonna be a little bit less controlling with that format because, you know, we are in the Wild West.
We have to be.
But we're still interested in kind of what makes games feel like that, some of those design values that are inherent to Dark Souls 1 and where they can be present somewhere else. And we also want to have a clearinghouse to eventually do some more old FromSoft as well. So like Echo Knight will show up there. The other King's Fields will show up there.
I'm glad you said Echo Knight, because if I don't talk about somebody or talk with somebody about Echo Knight, I'm going to lose my fucking shit.
I'm gonna die. So that'll go there. Like, it's gonna be cool. And that's going to be for patrons.
So that's a big thing. That'll be for patrons. You're going to get that on the private feed that Patreon generates for you.
At $5. So $5 a month. It is going to be, you know, it's $1.25 per week. You get a bunch of other stuff at $5 as well. But we want people who listen to the show to feel good about supporting us. And $5, you know, $5 a month, and you get Bonfire Side Chat.
Just all of it. Like, there's no time gating on that.
Let's skip a point and go to the next one because it's also in that tier.
Yes, let us do that. Go ahead and bring it in.
So one of the other things we're doing is because, the truth of the matter is, like, as we mentioned, we want to bring people in.
Mm-hmm.
And both of us are sensitive artiste types, and we feel crass talking about money. Like, it's gross to us. And that's not a good posture, but it's true. Like, I think we both have some hesitation about stuff like that. But we are very proud of what we do, and we work. Like, the thing that really underlined this for us is we did the Baldur's Gate 2 episodes, which, some people are like, these are the best episodes you've ever done. Like, I think they're really good.
Yeah.
Like, I think it's some of our best work. Like, Winter WRPG month always ends up being some of our best stuff that we do during the year.
Right.
But for that second episode, like, we spent 35 hours plus
right.
Just playing the game.
Yeah.
So that's not research, that's not recording, that's not editing. That's just playtime, which is a full week's work with lunch breaks.
Yeah.
And that's on top of every other show we do.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think it is wrong for us to ask for compensation for some of that.
Right.
And that is one of the things we're going to do. But we also didn't want to, we still want people who can't support the show to still be able to listen. So we're kind of come with this compromise where one episode of Watch Out for Fireballs per month is going to be what we're kind of like calling like a premium episode. This episode will be up through the generalities. There'll be kind of a preview form that will go out, or a premium episode. Like a preview form will go out. They'll go up through generalities.
Right. That goes to everybody. Everybody gets, as we talk about the mechanics and the legacy of the thing. So roughly like the first half hour to hour of an episode.
Yep. And then on the premium feed, which you get at the $5 with the Bonfireside Chat, you get the full episode. So it's us going through all the individual beats, and that will be one episode per month. So most of the episodes that come out per month, no change. People are on the public. But half of one of those episodes is going to be premium and is going to be for patrons.
Yeah. And again, those will be available for you in perpetuity at the $5 tier.
Yep. Once you jump in at $5, you get the whole backlog of those as well.
Right.
So all the Bonfireside Chat. So don't feel like if you can't, if you're like, that sounds cool, but I'm not really going to be able to afford this, right away. Like if at some point down the road you'll have a whole backlog of Bonfireside Chat 2.0 and full WOFFs to listen to.
Yes.
At that point.
Yeah. So, the goal of this is just us assessing the, kind of the work and value that goes into Watch Out for Fireballs and trying to, make sure that, we're getting out of it what we put into it.
Yeah.
Is really the big way that we're thinking about it.
It's a lot of work. And I just don't, I have to make it and to pay with those like rising costs, we talked about. Like, I live in a very small studio apartment. I have insurance through the marketplace, but with my insurance, my medical care is still pretty expensive. I have to, something I work this hard on, I have to be able to ask for recompense.
Yes.
It's just the reality, like it's, there's just nothing, there's, gotta eat, gotta, got to pay rent, got to do all those things. And it's just the case.
Yeah.
It is simply the case.
For my point of view, like, yes, I did buy a house recently. That was a move from Cincinnati, let's say a C tier city, to something that is barely a city. I moved closer to home, to basically, to a different situation to reduce my cost of living because I want to align my life so that this can be my work. Yeah. Right.
So it's requiring some sacrifice. It's still like the best job I've ever had.
Oh, true.
Like I don't want anyone listening to this to think that I'm not very grateful, because I really am. It's just the reality of the situation. Like, living where I live, and yes, like I could move to Mansfield, Ohio, or I could move to just a small town. I could do a cost reduction thing like that. But like that would have other situations. Like sometimes I meet people, here who we've had like some guests on the show. Yeah. We've met. I've like done guest stuff. We have the expo here. Like there's reasons for me to stay in Portland, and also I don't feel bad about asking for recompense for my work to allow me to live in a city I want to live in.
Absolutely. No, I wasn't holding up my thing as and you're doing it too. It's just more to say like, there are compromises and trade-offs, and even with those, I don't know. There are still unexpected costs associated with my situation. So all of this is, providing too much information to try to avoid being in a defensive posture, but I absolutely am in one.
Yeah, exactly. And it's this is, out of all the things that we're doing, like all the stuff we're announcing after this, it's all extra stuff. This is the one thing we're like taking away and putting behind a pay gate.
Yeah. And that's something that we have always tried to avoid doing.
Yep. But we're doing it. And ultimately, another thing is this came down to ads as well. Like we could make up some of that difference by running ads, and I just don't want to.
No,
I don't. I can't pretend to care about Carfax. Like I don't judge people who do ads on their podcast.
Right.
It's pretty standard. I just wouldn't be able to do it. Like I can't care about that, and I can't pretend to care about it.
Right.
You know, I'm not. One of the things I think that people who like the show like about it is that we are honest in our approaches, and that would be dishonest.
Yeah,
and I don't want to be dishonest.
And I could show you, I could show you how much money we got from those Audible ads that we ran for like 2 years. It, you know, not wouldn't necessarily be a good thing. While we are fortunate enough to have this other option, which is coming directly to you and explaining our motivation, I want to explore that before doing something that I think everybody involved would feel shitty about.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, that's kind of where we're at with that. I think it's going to be cool. You're still getting a big value, you know, like in the free feed, you're still getting a big chunk of the episode. So, at that $5 level, you're still getting the 2 abject sufferings. So just a bunch of stuff at $5.
Yeah.
That's where we want to get you in.
Yeah, if you want to look at the $5 as like the Duckfeed membership level, that is not necessarily a terrible way to think about it.
Yep. Other changes that are coming through. We notice one of the things we are adding to the public feed is that we do, once a month we do appendix episodes. Part of that is because listener responses, people kind of giving their own responses to the game has always been part of the show. We want to keep that, but also we know a lot of people that's not interesting to some people. Like we have the numbers, like a lot of people don't listen to those.
Right.
We want to make those cool. So we are replacing the appendix with something we're calling the Watch Out for Fireballs dispatch episodes.
Yes. And that's going to be like a variety kind of deal. The idea for this kind of sprung from when we did this live show in Portland this past fall, where our episode about Super Smash Brothers kind of turned into a broader discussion about emergent gameplay and playing games wrong. And we thought, hey, this is really fun to do. It's looser. It's a little bit more kind of free roaming. Ends up being a little bit of like a verbal column almost. What if we did more of that and did that as a way to kind of give more value to this thing that is still important to us, the listener mail episodes, but kind of brought more value to that so we could bring more people into the fold.
So what that will be is that patrons will be able to kind of suggest prompts for us, and these can be as heady or as dumb as you want. Not quite just silly Q&As. There's a space for that too. We'll talk about that in a second.
Yeah.
But this could be things like when I was thinking about it when we were conceiving the idea, it's like, what do you think makes a good horror game? Like what's necessary for that? What defines a Souls-like? What are some of the best ice levels in games? What are your memories of this specific console? What do you think of that console and its kind of like legacy and its value? Yeah. Things like that. And patrons will be able to suggest those, and every month we'll choose one of those and we'll talk about it. It'll be kind of a free form discussion, probably about as long as the live episode. Yeah. Half hour, 40 minutes. But we want to add some value to those things, and we also want to stretch our wings a little bit.
Yes.
As far as the kind of things we talk about. Like we've been doing this for more than 7 years. We've been doing this for a long time. We have acquired like a lot of just kind of knowledge, or at least opinion. Right. On those kind of broader topics, if not expertise. Right. And I think that has a place.
Yes. Yeah. That will also be the place where general Q&A kind of things will go, which means that Duck Tracks, the premium show, is going away. Those patron prompts are going to work their way into the WOFF Dispatch episodes.
So for people who are not patrons, what Duck Tracks was a Q&A show that we did once every 3 months, where people could ask us questions just in general. And sometimes these are jokes and sometimes they're serious. And we talk about kind of the making of different shows in the network, things like that. That's going to be monthly now. And that's also going to be where patrons can ask us those things. Yes.
That's going to be monthly, in that it's going to be rolled into the dispatches.
Yes, exactly. It's not its own separate thing. And your responses will still go in there. So it's a meatier episode. It has a lot more content to it. And hopefully people like that. So Duck Tracks is going away, but in its place, we are doing an extra Adaptation Decay.
Right.
So that is going monthly instead of 2 times every 3 months.
Right. So we had off months where we did duck tracks. So it was like 221, 221. Now it's going to be all 12. Give it to me. That show is so fun to make. I want to do more of it. We've done some really fun stuff here recently. The Max Payne episode was a lot of fun. The Mortal Kombat the album, Gary, it's shameful how many times I've just like pulled up that album and like listened to a track just to goof on it and laugh.
Yeah, it's fun. I think that's some of our. I think it's a great show.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's really fun. We have cool things planned for 2019 for that, and it's not like we're going to run out of video game adaptations. For people who don't know, that show is where we take a look at how games have been adapted to other media, and we've been pretty creative with it. Like, we talked about the Clue movie, we've talked about the Dungeons and Dragons movie. So it's not just video games, but there's plenty of stuff to talk about. That's going to go monthly. That is at the $10 tier, because the $10 tier is the kind of premium extra tier.
Yes,
for this. So we talked a lot about $5 stuff, and now on to the $10 stuff.
On to $10. So kind of along with that, in the past, we have had this kind of weird kind of time gating situation going on with our premium episodes. We had it.
Is it Cole? Is there anything that is blander that sounds less bland than time gate?
It
sounds extremely cool, but it's not.
That is a real disparity. You're right.
Time gate.
Yeah, just the way it worked out. You know, people who backed at that level, they got the 3 most recent episodes, and then after a while, they would move to our content store. We're getting rid of the content store. Instead, what's going to happen is all of that premium stuff, that fire hose, is going to be available for you in a backlog at the $10 level. Yep.
As soon as you do it.
Right.
Like, as soon as you jump in at $10, you're getting like 100 episodes of old Exquisite Suffering episodes, all the old, everything we have on the store.
Yeah.
Pretty much. Kabambo. You are getting, and then you're also getting Adaptation Decay every month on top of that. So there's new stuff being added to it. And you just get it right away.
Yes.
So, bobbity boop. We did a show called Try This. We only did 4 episodes, but they're really fun and kind of weird. You get all those duck tracks we talked about, and those are evergreen.
Yeah.
Like, those are Q&A, but those are evergreen.
Yeah.
And we're also kind of stepping up. We're repurposing. We had a show called Duckfeed Presents, where we have a feed for that, where we did pilots for shows. We're repurposing that to be kind of bips and bobs that don't fit other places.
Right.
For things. So that is where, so like, I've been dying to talk about Fallout 76.
Yeah.
With somebody, and Will Hughes, my co-host on Everything to Guppy, has played it as well. I'm going to get in some more hours, and we're going to talk about Fallout 76 for 45 minutes.
Yeah.
And that'll be a Duckfeed Presents. It is just something there for patrons.
Right. Yeah, and those will just go up there and then be available at the $10 in perpetuity. Yep. So the idea is for people to get on there and stay there and just always have this access to it.
Like new stuff.
Yes.
You have access, and new stuff will be popping up. And those kind of, I've got a bunch of ideas for those little Duckfeed Present things where it's like, if it doesn't have the structure of a show or the pressure of doing like a new show, it can just be like I am dying to talk about this Thief Simulator game.
Yep.
That I've been playing. It's cheap ass shovelware that I'm finding really, really fun. Like,
you sent me a link to that last night, and it was all I could do when I woke up to take a pee at 3 a.m. in the morning, and I looked at that message. It was like, oh, I need to stop myself from going and downloading this right now, because that is all kinds of my shit.
Let me give you the quick pitch for it.
Yeah.
You're getting missions through it, but they also, sometimes you get like vandalism missions. A guy named Vinny is calling you on your phone. A guy named Vinny calls me and goes, "Hey, rumor has it the toilet in 113 ain't broken. Let's fix that." I'm like, excuse me? Where are you hearing these rumors? How many unbroken toilets are in my town right now, and I don't know shit about them? So I go, and it's full of like, it's not like the apartment breaking in sim that say like Mankind Divided is, because there's not really like interesting storytelling in it's that, simulator style assets, like everything's kind of bland, but there is a lot of like, I break into this guy's house, and he's sleeping, and I didn't know how much. I close all the doors between me and his bedroom, trying to muffle the noise, but I break the toilet and it wakes him up. And he calls the police, and then I run into his kids' room, which his kids are mysteriously absent. It's like 2 a.m. But I sleep under their bed. I like hide under their beds until the police leave. And then I'm leaving and I see a tasty printer and I'm like, I'm gonna fucking steal that printer.
Uh-huh.
But they some things you can't fit in your pocket, so I have to like haul it and throw it out the window and get out while the guy's sleeping and stuff. And it was just very fun. Like,
yeah.
it's full of like it's really fun. It hits the stealth thing of it being fun to get caught and fun to get kind of bad grades. Like, nice. I could have perfect stealth that and tried it like a billion times and that would have been miserable. Or I can just be like, fuck this, I'm hiding under here with this toy dinosaur while the police like, scour this guy's house for the mysterious guy who broke a toilet because a guy named Vinny texted him to. Like, buddy.
Because he couldn't let that stand.
No, like, yeah, we gotta fix that.
Yeah, I really want to play that and then talk about it with you and then give it to our patrons. Yes.
And it wouldn't be a good WOFF.
No.
Like, it's like, I don't think it really has an end game. I mean, it might, but it's a long simulator game. It's pretty simple, but like, I want an excuse to talk about it. So stuff like that's going to go there. You're going to get something like that at least once a month, if not more. And that's all at that $10 level. But the big thing is the fire hose, which is just huge. Like, you're just getting tons and tons of stuff.
Right.
So, kabam.
There
are a couple other changes that are kind of, value neutral, I guess, like that are not necessarily us like taking or giving. One of the things is we are getting rid of theme months.
Yes.
For Watch Out for Fireballs. That was very fun. But it was hard to fit in with patron requests. We're honoring all of those things. So all the patron requests that are in so far, all the theme month requests that are come in so far are being honored. We're going to be doing the remainder ones. Yeah. But we're no longer doing those.
Right.
In the future.
And those people have been contacted. If you feel like we missed out on you, please reach out to either of us.
Yep. And do so at our go email us at Duckfeed.tv.
Yes.
So Gary and Cole do both of us. Gary at Duckfeed.tv or Cole at Duckfeed.tv.
Yes.
So those are going away. They were fun. They might happen on accident in the future, or if we have a really good idea. But yeah, it's not the plan.
Yeah. The other part of that goal is you just kind of have a more canny eye toward putting big games into the kind of heavy hitters into the in the timeline there.
Yep. Yeah. And we're going to be really intentional about that. So you're going to see more, and this was always part of the plan. This is from the last restructure of doing more things that are short and allowing for that. Like the first episode this month is River City Ransom. And that's going out on the early feed at the same time you hear this.
Right.
That's a svelte episode. It's a little bit over an hour, but that game is no less worth talking about. Right. So we want to be able to have space for that as well. Having space for that and being intentional and choosing those allows us to also choose big games. So like, the spread we have in January is very representational of like what we want to do. Right. One of the other things too, that is like kind of a values neutral change, and some people will be bummed by this and some people will be overjoyed by it, is that we are phasing out sketches. Yes. At the beginning of episodes. If we ever have a really good idea, that might pop in. Yeah. But it's we still really like those, but it's just become a thing where like a lot of extra effort goes into them. And we like when we were really feeling it, it made sense to do them. And some people were like, I love them. And some people were like, I don't like them. And it's like, well, we really like them. So we're going to do them. And I think we both just kind of like our interest have changed a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. And just from an effort standpoint. So this is probably a bad kind of data point because it was so over the top. But the sketch in the last episode of Baldur's Gate 2, the John F. Kennedy assassination, if it was by second edition rules, that took me about 2 hours to edit. Yeah. It takes a while to do. Some people are going to be very happy about that. One of the things we want to do on that presents, and I just need to clear away some time to do it, is compile all of them. Yes. Into one big crazy mega file. like a 4-hour podcast that just all of them in a row. And for some people you'll be like, that's poison. I'm not going to listen to that. And some people will be like, yes, this is good. Yeah. So yeah, that's kind of a value neutral change that's happening. Yeah. And this is along with that kind of getting rid of theme months and everything that we mentioned a couple points previous is going along with kind of simplifying our Patreon. Yes. So one of those things for the big ticket items, we had a scheme where you would back at a certain level for 3 months. To get that reward. That was kind of seen as a kind of like rate limiting kind of deal. Didn't really work out that way. What it did was add an awful lot of extra bookkeeping that I think just complicated the process of fulfilling that. So instead, we have raised the prices on those, but that is just a 1 month and you're in kind of deal.
Yep. 1 month and you're in, and and then you get the pick.
Mm-hmm.
So, and we fully expect, like, people are not going to, people can, like, there are people who support the network, and it is not necessarily about what they're getting in exchange. They just, and we obviously very much appreciate that. Like, people who just support to support, you can get in that level and stay, and you'll get your pick a certain number of times per year. But we also fully expect people to pick and then get out.
Yes.
And we're going to honor all those. And if we ever get so far ahead in those, like, if we just can't support it, like, we just, we have stuff for the next, like, 4 years or whatever. If that ever happens, then we'll temporarily take them down, or we'll figure something out. Just to make sure that doesn't happen. But as is, you can get in, get out, get your pick, and then we'll add it to the queue, and we'll do the pick. It's just going to be simpler on our end. It's all just one thing up front. And if you, if that kind of doing it over the course of months helped with managing that cost for people who are really interested in that, I would just say, like, you'll be able to get in the future if you just save that up on your own as well.
It just changes the budgeting thing.
Yep.
The other thing is that, so at the $25 level, that is going to remain abject suffering suggestion. So we're going to be moving abject suffering to be primarily those kind of picks. So now is a good time to get in there and, juice that up, because the wait time is relatively short compared to what it was before. Additionally with that, we are no longer doing physical rewards. You may be thinking, you guys never did physical rewards. That's our bad. And that's why we are removing that from that tier.
Yep. We had an idea for it, and it sounded like something that we would be able to do. And between the years that we had and kind of our misjudging our own capabilities, we fucked up. And didn't send those out. We had this idea for a zine, stuff like that. What we're doing instead for people who supported us at that level, we have come up with some merch. Some cool merch. It's not just stuff that we made for ourselves that we're going to sell in the store or anything. It's just for those people who did that as an apology. Like, these will not exist. This is an exclusive thing. It's a trophy.
Yes.
We're going to send you those things, as well as a big old fucking handful of, like, buttons and stickers and things that we do have. Is kind of this, like, instant tchotchke collection of things. That's what the physical rewards would have been anyway. Would have been essentially tchotchkes. We're hooking you up with better tchotchkes as kind of an apology, and we are phasing that out. So that's what we're kind of trying to do. We are sorry about that. It just, it just didn't work out.
Eyes bigger than our stomachs.
Eyes bigger than our stomachs is a good way to put it.
So you should have received a message about that. Kind of around the same time that you get this. If you did not receive that, or if you think that there is something that should be coming to you, go ahead and, again, contact either of us. What'll happen is you'll get a form link to put in your current address, because this is looking way back at people who may not have backed us recently.
Updated their address.
And we want to make sure we get you the right, we send it out to the right address to make sure that you get it as soon as possible.
And it's cool stuff. Like, I want a copy. So it's neat stuff. You'll see what that is. The other thing that's kind of going with simplifying the Patreon is we are changing some of our milestone goals. One of the things is we want to be very careful about stretching ourselves too thin. So kind of roughly, we're thinking of like a show in, show out kind of policy, other than with just a couple exceptions. So rather than having like a handful of shows on the horizon of things we want to do, we still have the Lovecraft film adaptation show, Unfilmable, on there. I really want to do that. We've got 2 different seasons of that up on there. But the rest of the stuff is going to be things like, Jack's Box parties. Me and Jeremy still want to do those jokey things that we talked about, those jokey ask Beast and Gambit sex advice things, little bits. We're going to do things like that. That's still on there, but we've simplified that a little bit. And in the future, if we do ever come up with a burning show, like a show we really, really want to do, one of the shows that we have going on, it might take its place. So these kind of limited series, I think, are good and fun. We have no plans to do that right now. So if your favorite show is, a little listened to show on the network, don't feel bad. Like, that's not in danger. It's just in the future, we can't just keep adding to that pile on top of doing 35 hours a week of pure Baldur's Gate 2.
Right. Yeah. We need to have enough flexibility to soak those Baldur's Gate weeks.
Yeah, Baldur, yeah. And we recognize that we only do one of those a year, but at the same time, like, some of these other things are still also really big. Like, we're immediately following up with Final Fantasy X, which is not short.
Right.
So yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, take a look at those milestone goals. If this is something where this restructure is wildly successful,
mm-hmm.
The top of the pop, the kind of brass ring for that is just us making like a pretty okay living.
Right.
Like we will then reevaluate. We'll look at what we can do
mm-hmm.
with that kind of new position.
Right.
And stuff. But like, that's just kind of like an amazing place we could get, having never been under a website or never been under a bigger brand.
Right. And that's the thing about the network. We started out of nothing. We really didn't have an audience to speak of, and just grew slowly and steadily up to this point. For us to reach where we're at right now is fucking remarkable, and something
mm-hmm.
I'm grateful for every time I think about it. But to even get to those higher levels, I'm proud of that. And I'm just supremely, happy that people have helped us get there.
Yeah. And we work really hard.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really proud of the work we do.
Yeah.
Like it's, I don't think there's any reason why we can't.
Right.
I don't think we're doing good work, and I feel really good about it, the
mm-hmm.
work that we do. And I think it would be really awesome. Who knows if it'll happen? Like, there are more factors at stake than just how hard we work.
Mm-hmm.
But I just think it would be really cool. And I don't feel bad wishing for it.
Right.
I don't feel bad hoping for it or setting up structures that make that possible.
Right.
I don't, and that's part of the idea behind this.
Mm-hmm.
So 2019 as a personal goal for me, and I've thought of this since like September, has been to like not start any new projects, but to grow and cultivate the existing projects. Take my ongoing concerns and make them as good as I can.
Right.
And that is how I spend, I intend to spend the year.
Mm-hmm.
And this is part of that.
Absolutely. So looking back at those three goals, right? So grow the
mm-hmm.
network in,
mm-hmm.
in more than one way, so grow the Patreon, grow the number of listeners, obviously, by dedicating the time and resources to make, to make our shows better and work on them and continue heading in that way. Give patrons more with Bonfireside mm-hmm. Chat, and moving some of that WOFF value onto the Patreon itself, changing the backlog and store kind of deal to really get people in there, just to get people to put that private feed into their stuff. Mm-hmm. And then to cover these rising costs. If we hit those first two, the third is going to follow. Yep.
And then Yahtzee.
Yes.
So hopefully everybody feels good about this. And we feel good about it.
Mm-hmm.
And we're really looking forward to 2019. And we really do appreciate everyone who's helped us get to where we are.
Yeah.
I hope the last thing I want is for us to sound ungrateful with any of this. Like, we're very grateful. Health insurance. Like, it's just a thing.
Yeah.
America hates the self-employed.
Yep.
It's like 33% in taxes, pretty much.
Yeah.
So it's not quite that much, but it's pretty up there, and it's fucked up, and
yes.
it's very difficult. So I don't also want to come off like I'm whining. I'm very lucky to have this job,
mm-hmm.
but also the reality is that if I feel weird and guilty about asking for more, I have to get over that.
Yep.
And it can ruffle some feathers, and that's okay.
Yep.
So hopefully it doesn't, though. Hopefully everyone understands, and hopefully everyone is excited. I'm really excited. I'm probably rounding the end. I think I have the last major area of Immortal Unchained left to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm really excited to talk about it.
Yeah.
It's interesting. It fucks up in some ways that are fucking hair-pullingly bad.
Yeah.
But in the ways it succeeds are very cool.
Yeah.
And I can't wait to talk about it.
Same here.
So, yeah. I think that's probably about it.
I think so. Thank you, everybody. I hope you've had a good, a good end of 2018, and I hope 2019 treats you right.
Absolutely. Yeah. And now you have the fun, long task of deleting. You've listened to this episode, but now go to your other feeds and give it that left swipe.
Yep.
Dismiss it.
Oh, yeah. Cool.
So yeah, Umbasa.
Umbasa.